This is the Home Plate Podcast with Tito, Sarge, and Sabes. Serving up a triple play of sports, betting, and exclusive interviews with some of the biggest names in the game. Brought to you by Fog Coast Productions.
Hey, all right, friends. Welcome back to another episode of the Home Plate Podcast, brought to you by our friends at Fog Coast Productions. I am one of your hosts, Tito Von Flavor, and I am joined by my always esteemed colleagues and always very handsome colleagues, Sarge and Sabes. Fellas, how we doing? Nice to be back for episode number 4. Sabes, what's going on?
Ecstatic. We got draft day in 48 hours, actually less than 48 hours. Can't wait to see who the pick is.
Sarge, Locksmith's going to be all over the place with some props later today, right?
Can't wait to be at Momo's on Thursday with you, some beer and wings. Let's keep it flowing, brother.
Yeah, it's an exciting week. Draft week for any NFL fan, for any sports fan is big time content. You know, lots of moves going on the actual day itself. Lots to get into this episode. We're going to start first. The first quarter, before we get to the draft, going to get right into Golden State Warriors basketball. It's too hard not to discuss Steph Curry and what he's getting done for the Warriors. They're the 10 seed. Sabes, MVP candidate? Is he being overlooked? Is he being snubbed? What's going on?
Steph Curry has definitely performed well enough to be considered, and you've seen that in the fluctuation of the betting odds as far as his MVP possibilities. But let's be honest, it's contingent on where you are in the standings, and we're a fringe playoff team. So you got to respect and appreciate what he's doing. But in my eyes, no absolute shot Steph Curry wins the MVP this year.
And that's sad, Sarge, right? I mean, he's the second leading scorer in the NBA. He's going to probably win the scoring title as long as Bradley Beal cools off, which I think he will. I mean, does the best player need to be on the first, second, or third seeded team in either conference?
Without a doubt. Looked it up actually this morning. Since 1988, Michael Jordan's the MVP. He was in third place in the East, and that is the highest seeding in MVP history. So Steph is not going to
win.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it's the lowest. So anybody 3 or higher, you've got to be 1, 2, or 3. So I mean, that's unfortunately essentially a wrap. I hope that Curry's able to shock the world like he's able to do every single night. I mean, it'll be interesting to see if they get in. I mean, the way the playoffs are working this year, as we head into the second quarter of our show, you know, the NBA playoff format is just all over the place. We were talking about it today during our pre-show prep. Sarge, we've got the Warriors at the 10 seed. If it were to end today, they'd play in a play-in game against the San Antonio Spurs, who are the 9 seed. And whoever wins that game then plays the loser of 7 versus 8, which would be Memphis or Portland. The bubble must have done well for everybody's pocketbooks and for their ratings, because this seems like a mini little play-in bubble a la Phoenix Suns, right? I mean, do the Warriors have a chance to, light it on fire?
You got Steph, you have a shot. Popovich obviously makes me a little nervous. Probably top 2, 3 coaches of all time. I can definitely see them triple team Steph. And then what do we do? Like, really? Is it really Wiggins, Oubre to take you to beat the Spurs? That makes me nervous. Grizzlies, not too worried. The Trailblazers, we're their worst nightmare. They probably hate us. We beat the crap out of them every time we play them. And the one time we have to play them is a new bubble format, which they just made up this year. So hopefully we get to play those guys. First things first of the Spurs. Hopefully we can beat them, but Popovich makes me nervous. Double, triple team Steph. I don't see anyone else in the Warriors maybe pushing through. So no homer talk for me.
Yeah, the last thing that the Trailblazers want is to face the Warriors, as they've already locked in or will lock in probably a 7 or 8 seed. Last thing they want to do is have to square up against those guys. Sabes, everybody says the MVP voting and all of that takes place, during the regular season, during a bulk of the 82 games. If Steph Curry is able to go on this unbelievable run, not only get them into the play-in tournament, but win that play-in tournament and get into the playoffs and maybe get to a semi-conference final or a conference final, I mean, does that impact anything behind the curtain, behind the Wizard of Oz curtain in regards to who wins the MVP trophy?
I don't think so. I think those votes are locked in beforehand. But I think something very important to point out: these are 1-game playoffs. So back to Craig's point, if you game plan that one game around stopping Steph Curry, that's what makes you nervous, because who's going to answer the call when your main guy is taken and eliminated from the game plan? So 1 game nervous versus anybody has got to make you nervous, especially when Steph is your absolute true go-to guy. But if we were lucky enough to beat the Spurs, I think either of those matchups with Portland or the Grizzlies would be a tremendous show. You got Dame Lillard playing his hometown team. You got Steph Curry going against him. And if it's the Grizzlies, you got this guy Ja Morant, who puts on an and one mixtape about every game he plays. He's so fun to watch. So first is first, get past the Spurs. But I like our chances against either Portland or the Grizzlies if we're lucky enough to get there.
I have to agree with you guys. I like Steph Curry in any playoff setting, but a 1-game playoff setting is just, I mean, that's got to be what Steve Kerr's looking for, right? I mean, if they could get to the 6th seed somehow between now and the end of the season and lock in an actual playoff spot, of course, that's what they're going to say. But 1 game in, 1 game out sort of scenarios, I mean, Sarge, Curry's going to drop 40 on you. And before you know it, you've gone from being the 7th seed, potentially, getting into the playoffs to, oh my goodness, this 10 seed just knocked us out of the play-in. It's crazy.
NBA is a funny thing, funny game. They make up rules as they go. Love Steph Curry. Looking forward to next year with Clay, but hey, make some noise, trying to have some upsets. We love the underdog. Reminds me of the 8th seed when we beat the Dallas Mavericks. Would love to see it. Denver's kind of slow. Jokic is awesome, but good luck trying to run with the Warriors. So, you never know. That's the thing. You never know.
Anything is, as the great NBA legend Kevin Garnett once said, anything is truly possible. Anything's possible. So what Steph Curry is going to do, the world will have to wait and see. We're going to end the second quarter here, head to a little halftime. As my friend Sarge had said at the beginning of our intro here, he's going to be at Momo's for the NFL draft on Thursday. I know Saves is going to be there with me as well. We're going to be doing some drink specials. We're going to be doing food specials. We'll have your wings. We'll have your beers. We'll have your good times. Have some TVs outside. We're going to, of course, have some TVs and seating inside now that we're at 50% capacity. So come on down, see who the Niners pick, watch the first round with us on Thursday night. We'll see you at Momo's. Should be fun. And of course, during our halftime, have to give a shout out to our friends at Fog Coast Productions. The podcast is brought to you by them. They're an award-winning video production company based right here in San Francisco. And whether you need a corporate video, animation, or you want to create a podcast just like this one, give them a call. Reach out to them. They're your one-stop shop for all multimedia production needs. Very excited that they are taking care of us and helping us get this podcast out there. You can find us across all social media platforms at Homeplate Pod. And we are now, if you go to the link in our bio on our Instagram, go to our link tree, you can listen to us on Spotify. If you're driving in your car or out walking your dog, or your wife's watching Housewives and you just need something in your ears, you can throw us on. I know I listen back to us while my wife's watching the Housewives.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, fellas. So as we head to the third quarter, okay, and we are going to get right into the NFL draft. This is going to be the meat of the show. We obviously wanted to touch on the Warriors because you got to give Steph credit where it's due. But the third quarter, the draft and everything leading up to it, my goodness, guys, John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan, that's the equivalent of throwing up a Steph Curry 45-footer for 3, what they did at that press conference yesterday. I mean, that was from the moon, out of nowhere. They have been so close to the vest. Sabes, I just want your initial reaction on just the length at which they spoke, the ability to say a lot without saying anything at all. What's going on in the San Francisco camp right now?
It was entertaining, to say the least. Threw it on, was taking a little break from everyday life, just wanted to kind of get in touch. I know they've been very tight to the vest at this point. Wasn't expecting too much out of the press conference, but man, did we get some golden nuggets out of Kyle Shanahan specifically. My biggest take away from it, it's hard for me to envision Jimmy Garoppolo being on the roster anytime past this draft weekend. I don't know if it's going to happen round 1. I don't know if it's going to happen day 2 during round 2 or 3, or if it's just going to happen at any point of this weekend. But that was my biggest take away from it. There were some telltale signs, comments, and defensive nature to Kyle, where it kind of alludes to maybe it is Mac Jones. But man, it was a lot more jam-packed and entertaining than I probably first thought it would be.
I mean, Sarge, Kyle Shanahan is talking about whether the human race or just individual people are going to be alive come this Sunday. What does that say to you? If you are Jimmy Garoppolo, if you're his agent, if you're anybody on the Niners right now, if you represent draft picks, I mean, are you right now? Is everyone on the chopping block? Is that how you're seeing it for the Niners?
Kyle's just pissed that the quarterback that, in my personal opinion, maybe he didn't want in the first place. He's not suiting up. He doesn't play. We're playing CJ Beathard. He was pissed in that press conference. So I agree with Sean. He's gone. I'm just, the faithful right now is so upset and so frazzled. I think it's hilarious where he hasn't played one snap for us, and we didn't even draft him yet. But Jimmy's gone. I'm excited for whoever the heck we draft. My personal opinion here is I think it makes it better for the teammates. You don't have two different quarterbacks. One defensive guy saying it should be Mac Jones. The offensive guy saying it should be Jimmy. If you get rid of Jimmy altogether, I think you can bring that locker room tighter together. So we'll see what happens.
Sabes, do you think that it's that cut and dry? I mean, you have been a huge proponent. You teased a promo earlier in the week on our Instagram at Home Plate Podcast about Trey Lance being your guy, right? And you've said that in past episodes. Is it that easy to just get him into the system and let him run wild, or are we going to be stuck with Garoppolo for the first 8 weeks of the season, for the entire 17-week season? How do you see that playing out?
Well, before that press conference, I was under the impression, like all of us were, that Jimmy Garoppolo was going to be on the roster, and he still is. We don't know exactly what's going to happen this weekend, but I've changed my tune. I just don't see the guy being there past this weekend, just based off the nature of that press conference. If that is the case, we're fortunately in a position at number 3 where it is such a quarterback-heavy, talented pool in this draft class, and a lot of these guys could be contributors from day one. I love Trey Lance. It's well documented. I do think he needs some grooming. I kind of envisioned him being more of a pick if Jimmy was there and he could kind of redshirt and learn right away. But at the same time, you could put Craig, or yourself, Scott, behind center and have Kyle Shanahan behind you, and you're probably going to get some production. So if you throw a guy with like Trey Lance back there with that skill set, I think you're going to get some value from him right away. But I'm sticking with my guy, Trey Lance, just totally in love with the kid. He's got the cognitive ability, the skill set, the chip on his shoulder playing at a lower division, and hasn't even begun to scratch the surface of his potential. But if it is Mac Jones, guys, I think all of us Niner fans deserve the right to be angry. But I have a 24-hour rule, whether it's in sport or in life. Feel that hurt, feel that pain, that loss for about 24 hours. As sports fans, that's what makes sports so much fun, right? You get to rejoice when you win, and you get to cry and feel sorry for yourself if you lose. And in a lot of people's mind, if it's Mac Jones, that's considered a loss at pick number 3. So let those emotions spill out, rejoice, be mad, be merry, be whatever you want. But after those 24 hours, whoever it is, get behind that guy. Let's not be Jets fans here. Let's support this kid, whoever it is. We're only going to hinder him in his evolution and his production if we continue to bash him. And, let this pick mature. Don't evaluate it right away. Let a year happen. Let the kid get to the field at least first before we, protest Niner games or don't go in any capacity or watch games. But I think it's going to be Trey Lance. I hope it's Trey Lance. But if it's Mac Jones, I think a lot of Niners fans are going to be a little upset. It's going to be interesting on social media, to say the least.
Yeah, well, the Twitter fingers will certainly be firing off if it's Mac Jones. I think that there's many schools of thought to this. Mine will be this. I don't really care who they draft, right? Because if they draft a quarterback, all of these guys have the skills or the assets or the tools or whatever term you want to use. And I believe in John Lynch and I believe in Kyle Shanahan. And I think that, with that coaching and with the scheme that they have, they can make anybody a good looking quarterback. They've done it with Garoppolo when Garoppolo's been healthy at times. The thing with Mac Jones for me is that if you're going to go through all this effort of getting rid of Garoppolo and you're going to make this press conference sound like you're on the cast of The Sopranos and making people disappear and you don't know who's going to be there on Sunday, it's like, why do something that's almost exactly the same as that? Go outside of the box, and if you're going to get rid of Garoppolo, get something for him. And Sarge, I'll toss this to you. It's a whole draft, right? It's an entire 7 rounds of multiple days, get something for Garoppolo, and then 2, whoever it is you draft, make it a more dynamic player who is going to do more than just throw it 8 times in the NFC Championship game, right?
Man, they've been, correct. I agree. Just how aggressive this organization has been with John Lynch. I mean, we might get 2 picks in the first round. Don't count that out. We've done it in the last couple of years. Obviously, me being the homer I am with Brandon Ayuk, I've never been happier. And here he is. But I trust John. I want to, but they get this wrong. They're gone in the next 3 years. No question. Or how long is your contract? Do you know, Scott? They have 2 more years together, 3 more years together. Lynch and Kyle. I mean, I know they extended them, but how about this, Tito? Let me ask you this. Let's say we draft Mac Jones. He's the day 1 starter. 17 games, we're 7-10. What happens? Are you okay with that? Are you pissed off? What makes Niner fans happy or not?
If they draft Mac Jones, I will actually be I will be holding out from the Niners training camp, and I will not be going to any sort of preseason game or participating in any sort of the offseason contractual agreements. And I'll be signing a 1-year deal with Mark Davis, rest in peace, Al, and the Oakland Raiders. The autumn wind is a Raider, and I will go a full season. I know Sean's talking about 24 hours. I'm going to go a full 12 months, not even thinking about the Niners. And it's going to be super difficult, but I'm willing to do it. I'm happy with whoever they take, but if it's the same exact thing as Garoppolo, which I think Mac Jones is personally, I tried playing quarterback for a little bit in high school. I'm not any good at it. I know it's a difficult position, but you have to also evaluate talent and saves. Trey Lance, let's say Justin Fields even is still in the mix. Let's say some magical thing happens and Zach Wilson's there. You have to take the best that's available, even if it's the 3rd pick, right?
Well, that's what the theory is, right? You want to pick the guy with not only the skill set and the talent to contribute day 1, but you want them to have a tremendously high ceiling. And I don't think Mac Jones just has that ceiling like some of these other guys do. And we know and understand that Kyle is very, very particular with the type of quarterback he wants. But is it almost to a fault? Is he too stubborn, which he keeps looking for the same type of prototypical guy to fit within his system and ignores how the league is evolving and how some of these other quarterbacks in the league can throw the ball 100 yards down the field, but can also elude the pass rush, evade the pass rush, get out of the pocket, throw it off different platforms, a la Deshaun Jackson, a la Kyler Murray, a la, name anybody else other than Jimmy Garoppolo. So, in theory, yeah, you usually want to pick the guy with the highest ceiling, and I think that's why Niners fans are upset with the Mac Jones selection or potential selection, because you just don't envision that his ceiling is that high. Yes, we are the Niners, and we have Kyle Shanahan and a tremendous amount of weapons, but if you're taking a number 3 pick, man, just pick a guy whose potential is limitless, right? So that's why I'm going with Trey Lance, and a lot of other people want either Trey or Justin Fields and not Mac Jones.
Tito, let me ask you this. Maybe Kyle likes the guy who's healthy for 17 games. Obviously, Jimmy can't do that. Maybe Mac's the guy who doesn't fumble the ball every single game. Maybe Mac's the guy who doesn't have interception, who looks like it was his first time playing quarterback. So if those things are true, the Niners were just in a Super Bowl with this team. Shanahan and Lynch just traded arguably their best defensive player. How aggressive this team is. You're telling me Mac Jones can't be better than Jimmy Garoppolo? If that form of Kirk Cousins, Jimmy Garoppolo, Mac Jones is that formula and he doesn't turn the ball over, the Niners are Super Bowl champions. Yes? No?
No, I don't disagree with you, and I totally see where you're going with this. My only retort to that would just be going with Mac Jones. He might eventually be better, but the window for the rest of the team at large is shrinking. And if you start over with a quarterback like Mac Jones, eventually he's not going to be a Super Bowl quarterback his first year. I can guarantee you that. Maybe they catch lightning in the bottle year 2 and something special happens. I don't know. But with that window around him starting to expand, everybody else's gets smaller. Free agency, contract negotiations, other injuries. The conference that you're in, the division that you're in is bloodthirsty. So I think if they're thinking about going to square one, which drafting a rookie quarterback, no matter what pick it is, I think you could define that as square one. let's go with the guy who's the most versatile, who can fit in best and fastest with what we need to do to keep up with, quite frankly, a division that's got Russell Wilson, Kyler Murray, and, okay, the one, traditional quarterback, Matt Stafford, who's going to throw for 5,000 yards this year because he's going to stay healthy and he's going to actually have an offensive line for the first time in his career. So it's just, I totally get it. Why not just go with what might be safe and what might work in a better version of what we already have? But I want these guys to go for it. I want them to really go for it. And let's just, if we're going to go all in, let's take Justin Fields or Trey Lance or, God, like I said, if the Mormon gods align and get us Zach Wilson from BYU, I would be so happy. But time will tell. We'll see. So lots of speculation, fun press conference leading up to the draft was great. We are now headed to the fourth quarter of our show. The fourth quarter is the draft itself and the fun that is going to ensue with prop bets. Locksmith, I know that you've got a slew of prop bets that you're going to be taking, but what are your three favorite? And then Sabes and I will kind of poke at you and toy with you and see which ones we like and which ones we're going to fade. What do you got for us?
Man, I have obviously like 20 of them. I'm just picking the top three. The one that shouts out to me, the Arizona Cardinals are the 16th pick, and the prop bet was offense or defense. It's obviously an offensive-hungry draft like it always is. But, man, the Cardinals need to stop somebody. They just lost Peterson. I can definitely see Micah Parsons coming there. But Arizona Cardinals, defensive pick. What do you guys think?
I like it. I do think it's going to be an offensive-heavy draft. There's so much talent. Obviously, when quarterbacks get pushed into the top 10 and potentially top 5, we could see trades up that where all these quarterbacks are gone after 5 picks if other teams trade up. A lot of these other teams have a lot of leverage there with so much need and a quarterback needy league. But I can agree with that. They have all the tools, I think, in place from the offensive side of the ball where they need to address that defense and they need to stop our weapons. Like, just look at our offense. We got Kittle, Ayuk, Debo. We have a stable of running backs like we've always had where we're just going to keep grounding and pounding. And, that to me makes a lot of sense.
And it's not just specific to Kyler Murray, but I will say this. I've said it again. I've said it before. I'll say it again. You've only got so many Hail Marys in you, and they are going to need to win games the good old-fashioned way with sound defense and some, they're going to need to win some low-scoring games. It's going to have to happen. So I like that.
No doubt. Pick 2, Patrick Surtain, the second, under 10.5. It's at -180. My prediction, he goes the Cowboys at 10. Pair him up with Trevon Diggs. That division is garbage. I mean, I can't believe the Washington football team just won that division with Alex Smith. That's correct. I said Alex Smith just won that division. So
don't forget Dwayne Haskins.
Is he going to be alive on Sunday? Talk about a guy, my goodness. I'm going Patrick Surtain under 10.5. My prediction is to the Cowboys at 10. Pair those guys up. Build your defense. You have Dak. You have Zeke. You have Cooper, you have Lamb. They have the offense. I think it's defense, and that's where I'm going with. Thoughts?
I love Patrick Surtain. I think he's going to fit in well with the Cowboys. Sabes, you can touch on a little bit more in regards to his NFL lineage, but he's a big-time player who's played at a big-time program, who's ready to go. And Sarge, I just have to say, when I had said that the Cardinals need to win low-scoring games to make themselves a better team, usually most people drop in word. You brought back the no doubt, and I just really appreciate that. No doubt, player. No doubt.
Well, here's another no doubter for you. My last one is Micah Parsons, the legendary Penn State linebacker. His over-under in draft status is 14.5. I can assure you people are going to hammer the under on that. I'm going over plus 105. Can see him paired up with Bill Belichick at 15, the Cardinals at 16, or with all these trades, which most likely we're going to see 5 quarterbacks go in the top 10. I think linebackers are going kind of farther down, in my opinion. Sean, you played some of that position. What we got?
Yeah, and again, back to the point where if quarterbacks are going early, you're going to see so many other prospects that are probably graded ahead of those guys keep getting pushed back and back. Linebacker is such a necessity, but it's also kind of a discounted position in the draft. Look at us getting Fred Warner in the 3rd round, right? But in regards to Micah Parsons, if you haven't watched the kid play on YouTube, do yourself a favor and go watch it. He is lightning in a bottle. He's sideline to sideline. He's a prototypical 3-down linebacker in today's NFL scheme. He can rush the quarterback. I think you could even put him on the edge, and he could be pretty productive there and get you some sacks as well. But to your point, I think that's a fair one to go with, over 15, considering that these quarterback selection high are going to be pushing guys like him a little bit further back. But whoever gets him, they're going to have a great Pro Bowl, All-Pro caliber linebacker, in my opinion, for the next 10 years. That's a dynamite shoe-in pick right there for me.
Yep.
I'm excited for Thursday. This is great. Whether the Niners, dismantle their franchise and take Mac Jones at 3, or if they set themselves up for 6 more Super Bowl titles will yet to be seen. But man, the first round of the draft Thursday night is always fun. It'll be great times with you three, with us three at Momo's. Locksmith will be updating us on his props. You guys can follow along and see how things are going. For next week's episode, we are going to be tackling the NFL draft recap. Where do the Niners stand? How are they going to compete, throughout the 2021-2022 season? What are some of the other picks that we liked? And we'll also touch in on some Giants baseball. And let's see if this lightning hot start for the Giants is sustainable and if it's kept up by the time we're back talking to you guys. So follow us across all social media platforms at Home Plate Podcast, or at Home Plate Pod rather. And of course, this podcast is brought to you by our friends at Fog Coast Productions. We will see you all very soon. Thanks a lot.